Hey you guys, welcome back. Okay, so we have new engine code jet tags on our store right now, and for you guys watching this video, we're giving 15% off these 2JZ jet tag designs because we're about to drop 15 new designs on our store and we need your help. So if you see an engine that we're missing, please post it in the comments below and we're going to make the top comment into a new design, okay? So the link is in the description. Enjoy the episode. What's going on, you guys? Welcome to the great state of California, sunny Southern California. It's gonna be a very hot day today in this 2JZ single turbo 2JZ SC300 Lexus. Most of the heat right now is coming from the transmission. We have no fans, no AC, no heat, no anything. But that's the thing, we don't really need heat because the transmission is literally making my hand burn. So it's a sacrifice, you know, you gotta work to drive this car. But welcome back to the show. My name is Marcus and you're watching Roads Untraveled. As always, this is Chris's highly modified Lexus SC300. Now, before we get going, a few things to note. It is running a 350Z transmission. It's running a single turbo 2JZ, making roughly somewhere between 400 and 500 horsepower at the wheels. Let's say this car weighs somewhere in between 3,200 and 3,400 pounds. My butt dyno says it's probably making about 450 at the wheels, which is a very respectable number, especially when you have an open wastegate, because then you really, you know, it's a sensory experience when you get on boost, more so when you have a open wastegate, and it just makes it feel like you've got more power, if that makes any sense. But we're just gonna go for a quick drive, see what this SC300 is all about. I've only driven a couple Lexuses before, to be honest. I drove a bone stock Lexus ISF a while ago. You guys might remember that review. Great car, a lot of fun, but obviously it was not a manual. And you know, it was a V8, and a V8 versus this, which is very fast, very loud, and it's got a ton of character. So now, a bone stock SC3 or 400, in my humble opinion, now you guys don't have to appreciate my opinion, I don't think they're great looking cars. This is an exception. Chris has done a lot of work, the front bumper and everything, rear bumper, side skirts, the wrap. It looks pretty aggressive, it looks pretty good. In stock form, it's a GT car, it was made for kind of the older crowd, and it came out before the Supra came out. I didn't actually know this until today, but basically all the suspension components can be swapped over. They're interchangeable between this and a Mark IV Supra. Mark IV Supra came out after this car, right? Other things to note, it has a welded diff, which is honestly terrible for the canyon roads. But you don't really notice it unless you're in a second gear corner and you get on it a little bit early, and then you're like, okay, this car wants to slide so badly right now and it just wants to drift, which is fine. That's kind of the intention Chris has for this car later down the road, but it's definitely something to take note of.
Hi, my name is Chris. This is my 92 SC300. I bought the car for $1,700. It was actually in really good shape. It was like a pearl white, and I bought it with the intention of swapping it, and just so happens about, I don't know, 2 months after I bought it, I did a compression test and there was 30 PSI on cylinder 6. So instead of actually waiting, I just yanked the motor out like 2 days later, and that's when the process started. I bought it to be a drift car. I was gonna get a 240 like everyone else, but I didn't want to pay $5 grand for a beat up 240. Plus, you don't see too many swapped Lexuses, so it's brownie points for being different. Yeah, so I bought it to swap it. I wasn't gonna go single turbo right away, but I thought about the amount of work that you have to do to actually go single turbo. So I ended up just, you know how it is, ballpark or snowball. Bought the turbo, bought the fuel system and ECU, and kept throwing money at it, and next thing you know, it is what it is today. So basically there's nothing too fancy. It's an off-the-shelf turbo kit from Drift Motion. AM ECU, 1000cc injectors, and other than that, everything just bolts up. It comes stock with a 2J, so really just slap on a turbo and drop the motor in the car. I mean, it's a good platform to start with. It's definitely not something that you see every day, and I get a lot of compliments on it, because you don't see a SC300 to begin with, let alone one that looks like this. So I actually got a compliment on the way after I met you at the Target. The kid stopped on a skateboard, and it was like,
So Lexus came out with this car as a Grand Tourer just after the brand Lexus was actually created, and it came in 2 different trim levels. So the SC300, this one, came with at least in the North American markets, came with a naturally aspirated 2JZ GE, and then the SC400 came with the 1UZ V8, which had about 260 to 270 horsepower in the final model years. So naturally, a car that was built with an NA2J is begging for a single turbo 2J, which can just be straight up bolted in, get yourself a beefy transmission such as the one from the 350Z, which is known to be, you know, pretty reliable at high horsepower and high torque numbers. And you've got yourself a pretty insane package for a grand touring kind of luxury vehicle. Now, Chris got this car for $1,700, which is pretty remarkable, and everything worked. You know, all the electronics work. 1992, it's got heated seats, it's got memory positions for your electronic seat controls, telescopic wheel, that's all electronic. And it's gonna work because it's a Toyota, right? On the odometer is 214,000 miles. It stopped working a while ago, so it's probably got a lot higher mileage than that. So the Lexus SC is kind of a point in history in Lexus and Toyota's past that a lot of people don't really want to remember, because yes, these cars, like I said, I mean, not the greatest looking cars from the factory, but here's the thing. The second generation SC, the SC430, yeah, it came with a V8, sure, but also Jeremy Clarkson dubbed that car in an episode of Top Gear famously as the worst car ever made. So the second generation of this is pretty much one of the least desirable cars. And then there's this, which a lot of people turn this chassis into a drift car, which completely makes sense. I mean, that's kind of what you would want to do. I mean, this thing already has a welded diff. It You know, it's got a 2JZ under the hood. It's got good steering. It's got good power. You toss it around, great visibility. And I mean, honestly, in some respects, one could argue that this was the proper, like this was a precursor to the Mark IV Supra. And in a lot of ways, it's a lot more similar to the Mark IV Supra than the Mark III Supra is, which is really funny to think about. But in essence, the Mark IV Supra is very much a GT car. Like when you drive, let's say an R32 or an R33, 34 GTR, it's got a much more kind of dedicated track car vibe about it versus the Mark IV Supra, which pretty much just feels like a very comfortable, you know, big engine up front, long kind of Grand Tourer, which is exactly what this is. So it's kind of weird to see the similarities and differences in these cars and how they feel. The biggest difference definitely is, and one of the only differences, to be honest, in driving feel, is the steering. I think it's the weakest point of this car is probably the steering. It's still got Lexus steering.
$400 plus, I think you might be able to do on the stock turbos. They won't last very long. But bang for buck, this car is probably one of the easiest because it comes stock with the 2J. So basically you just get a new motor and drop it in. Figure out whether you want to stay auto or go full manual like I did. But other than that, it's literally drag and drop. There's no fab. The only thing I had to do was bang the firewall to fit the transmission. Other than that, everything bolted up. 2Js are probably one of the best sounding cars. RB guys are gonna hate that, but it's true. Yeah, sound, it's different. Like I said, I get looks, the color. It's hard to tell what color it is at nighttime. So when I do drive it during the day, it really pops and it gets a lot of looks. Yeah, so I don't know the actual color, the name of the color, but it's a really dark midnight purple. I was gonna paint it, but I figured I'm doing the whole swap myself. I wanted to build the entire car myself just to prove to myself that I could do it. And I had wrapped other cars before, so I figured why not do it again. The hardest part was the bumpers. But if you want to take the time to do it, I don't know how people do it for a living. But if you want to save $1,000, then go ahead and do it yourself. You're gonna hate your fingers after though. So the wheels are Vordoven Form 14s. They are 18 by 9.5 plus 22 squared. And I think it's 245s? 245/40. I'm sure all the Cali guys, I guess the whole country knows at this point, but we just passed a new law that if a cop thinks your car is too loud, basically then they can pull you over and the ticket is no longer correctable. So in past days, you were able, if you did get an exhaust ticket, you can just fix the exhaust and get the ticket signed off. But now it's, cop thinks your car is too loud, pulls you over, gives you a ticket, and you have to pay. They said it's $1,000. I've heard a bunch of different stories of what it is, but this is kind of a middle finger to the cops. Because I don't care what the laws are. This car is far from legal in California, so an exhaust isn't going to stop me.
I mean, it's got a lot of power. Easy to heel toe, short shift kit feels, I mean, it's super notchy. Really easy to grab gears. It's got an ACT stage 3 clutch. It's a 6-putt clutch, but it is still sprung. So yeah, it's grabby, but you can still ride it. And when it gets hot, you've got a lot of crackles, and you've got all the 2JZ goodness. If you've never been in a car with a 2JZ, then this is all very new and fresh. But to me, if I didn't look at the badge, I think I'm driving like a little bit lower of a Mark IV Supra, you know? But like I said, Steering is probably the one thing that's a little bit lacking in this car. Now, once you get into a corner, it's honestly got decent feel. It's got decent feel, decent weight. It's just kind of like right here at the beginning of the corner, it's not much, but I really can feel the front tires and what they're doing mid-corner. Woo! Oh man. It's pretty hilarious though, like it's kind of a mind warp being in a Lexus and you've got like beige and like fake wood on the interior and stuff. But then you've got all these switches, you've got the fuel pump, you've got your fans all on these custom switches here. It's pretty funny. It's a great combo. And then just for laughs, you've got this stock SC300 seat, which is like a really flat kind of vinyl seat that really has no business being in a car with like 400 or 500 horsepower. And it's nice because it's got a 6-speed, so it still retains, like, even though it's on BC racing coilovers, the 6-speed in combination with like a half decent, comfortable fixed back Sparco seat. We're sitting at 2,000 RPM here. It's a fine cruising car, right? So I feel like it retains enough of the factory Lexus feel, but at the same time, kind of pushing you towards the, okay, let's go slide around, let's go do some hoonigan shit. It's good fun. It's a solid car. It's a very solid car. I'm glad I finally got to drive one because it's a lot more sporty and connected than I would have ever expected. Obviously, this one is definitely highly modified. I would have expected more of that kind of Lexus feel to be translated into this car, but overall it's a great driving experience. It's very, very fast, very loud. And if you guys didn't know already, we do have on our store both 1JZ and 2JZ engine code jet tags. Obviously 2JZ under the hood. You guys go pick yourself up one of those if you want to support the show, support the channel. We've also got RB20, 25, 26, F20 engine. We've got a few other engines up there as well, EJ20, 25. So go check it out, hit me up. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Chris's awesome 2JZ SC300. See you guys next time.